and how to fill these forms. All of these steps are recorded in an audit trail and with 128-bit encryption, and all of this is available for future scrutiny, etc. So the advantage in this collaboration tool is, one, the finance officer is not traveling and going through, wasting a lot of time going through the traffic and so on and so forth. At the same time, he can then service more number of clients. For example, if he is traveling from his office to the HNI customer, he will have to considering the time spent in going from one point to the other point, and so on and so forth. On an average, if they can manage 3 to 4 meetings in a day, with our tool, which is called Busy Desk, they can have 10 engagements. So this way, their profitability in terms of utilization of their time can be much better utilized, and they can do a better job in terms of managing their client. At the same time, client need not wait or plan a specific meeting with his finance advisor. He can take the call as and when he is free in his own leisure time. So these are some salient feature of Busy Desk, which we have launched in India, and we feel there is a huge potential for adaptation of this particular tool, specifically with insurance agent, insurance aggregators, banks, wealth managers, and similar companies like this, even brokers who have the customer dealings. So with this, I would like to just leave this at this particular point, and look forward to meeting the insurance and banking players and giving them this demo of how powerful this tool is. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye bye. Hello friends, this is Chandrakant from Akulmach Technologies, and welcome to this edition of branding for beginners, and why this subject is so important and why it is relevant to learn what is branding. So we are bringing this course for the benefit of the young budding entrepreneurs who are basically trying to set up their company, or to orient them in terms of what they should do when they set up a new business, especially when the business is being set up, but we don't have a frontline strategy to promote it. So the idea being is, when we set up our business, we should also think about how we will generate business, what will happen to our promotion strategy, what will happen, how customers will perceive us, how future employees will perceive us, how we will make money. So all of that is very very important when you start your business, and often this aspect of doing business is ignored, because people tend to focus most on their offerings and their product development, or solution development. And then once the solution is ready, then they start thinking about what is to be done in order to promote ourselves to generate business. So this is the course meant for people who want to learn how to do branding, how to set up their business, and this is for beginners. We also have an advanced course, but the advanced concepts are not covered in this particular workshop. So this is basically going to help people, give them directions, give them idea about how to set up your brand in terms of when you set up your business. What is the right timing? What are the different kinds of brands? What is the best branding method for me? What I should do to set up my business and also generate revenue. So I think some of these aspects we will be covering in this workshop. To start our discussion, let me take you to the definition of the branding. So many people say that branding is A type or B type, but I think let's understand the definition of the branding itself. The branding as it is basically nothing but it could be associated to a name, it could be a term which is used in the market, it could be a design, it could be woven around a symbol, it could be any other feature. Even perception can create a branding impact on the society. And the brand is then attached. So you have a branding which is separate from your offerings or service offerings. It is then attached to the product or services that you're selling. So the definition is much bigger. It creates a much bigger ecosystem. When you start your company, I think you have to think from that point of view. Even though you're doing something very small, but I think branding plays a very important role. As the definition itself suggests, it is a perception that is being created in your target audience, whether they think that this is a very good quality or they drive some value. The beginning of all that starts from the branding. And when we talk about branding, then there are different methods of doing branding. One of the methods is direct branding, where you say that, hey, this is my product, this is my service offering, and this is my logo, this is my company name. So this is your direct brand which is getting associated to your offerings. There could be indirect branding, and we will cover all of this as we go along in detail. There could be indirect branding, and there could be a brand which is influenced by something else. So there could be influence branding, where and this is very interesting because you don't talk about your product, your company, yet it get influenced by an event or something that goes on, and it is neither direct nor indirect, but it is influenced, and people don't even think that your branding, your brand or your popularity is growing because of something else which is happening in the field. So let's discuss about different types of branding, and I have taken some pictures out here just to give you the idea of what you can do, what fits your business, where you are, and you can draw then inspirations from some of these examples. So let's look at the individual branding. That's the first subject that we want to discuss today. The individual branding is something that is your own branding. Say for example, if you are a well-known professional in the corporate arena, or you are a very good trainer, so you have built a brand of yourself, and then you want to leverage that and run your own your own business or your own college or something like that. So your brand becomes an integral part of running your business. So the brand is also very important, the personal brand. What is the person behind this company? So I'm trying to draw the inspiration from Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, where you can see that his personal brand is so powerful that when he talks about a product, he is actually attributing his own brand along with that product or that merchandise that he is trying to advertise. So his brand is much bigger than he himself. Amitabh Bachchan, as we call it, Big B, is such a big brand. So many times when you start your journey as an entrepreneur, you must think about how much is your brand value, your personal brand value. And if it is not, then you should try to make your personal brand into a reality, so that at least 100, 200, 300, 1000 people start knowing you by your first name, last name, and they trust on you. So then this personal brand will play a major role in basically propelling your business forward. So that is one type of branding. Second type of branding is directly associated with a product. So we know that Mercedes cars are one of the best automobiles. So it does not matter which company manufacture Mercedes. The brand, the company which is behind producing Mercedes is not very well known, but Mercedes car is it is equal to the just like quality of the car itself. So they never break down. If they break down, there is an entire support structure. They're very robust. They can go for very long distance without failing. They provide ultimate comfort. They are the marvel of engineering. So like that, there could be many other products which are brand by itself. So Mercedes can be one brand, iPhone can be another brand. So there are several examples like that. So the brand itself is attached to the product. So when you say, hey, if I buy an iPhone, all your problems are solved. That's how people will say it. If you buy Tata, it is going to be quality product, and the company will treat you nicely. So things like that. So there are brands which are associated with the product directly, and it is not a material thing that the company has to build its own brand. So many times when the product becomes very popular, it becomes a brand by itself. So there could be product like that which has a brand. Then there could be branding with regard to regions. For example, there is one region which is safe for doing business. So once it is safe for doing business, people are honest, the law and order situation is very good, and this all is branding. Somebody has to say that come to my region and do business, because I provide you rule of law, I provide you clarity of thoughts, I provide you safety, I provide you workforce, and hence that becomes branding for popularizing your region. So for instance, India could be one region, EU can be another region, United States can be one region, and that is why these brands are associated with this region. Now the fourth example is the analyst. So the analyst job is basically to study what is going on in the industry and make forecast. So they basically talk to a lot of people, a million companies, and they understand what is going on. They apply their formula, they apply their brain, they apply their knowledge, and then they will come out with a forecast for next 1 year. And about 80 to 90% these forecasts are always true. So when an analyst speaks about the trend in the industry trend, the industry tend to believe them, and hence the analyst makes a brand for themselves. If analysts say something, it is going to be true. So for example, Gartner, if they make a business prediction, it is going to be true. Nobody can dispute it. So it's a brand by itself. It's a branding exercise that Gartner has done for themselves. It is a different kind of branding. It's about predictions, it's about knowledge-based assessment, data collection, what is the type of footprint they have when they make these predictions, and so on. So which cannot be copied by any other company. It is different. It is a separate segment of branding activities that Gartner will take up. The Gartner as a analyst will have a marketing team which will develop all of these infrastructure and create the brand which is relevant for the analyst. Then there could be a different type of branding services required for just services. So if there is a services vendor, then you need to be able to convey to the customers, your clientele or your consumer, that if you take this service from me, it is going to be top notch. So things like just dial. If you dial just dial, you can get number of anyone in India. That's a service order. So they have given a branding color for themselves, which are very very specific to themselves. They have built their name and their fame, and hence that drive their business. So if you call just dial, you can get number of anyone. So this is a service oriented example of service oriented branding. There could be other examples as well, where service can be sold with a brand. For example, if you look at Reliance, they provide telephony services. So when you say Reliance, it is good quality telephony, it never breaks, you have engineer always available, and things like that. So there could be, now Reliance may not be a good example, but there could be other examples which are similar to this. So services can be branded in a certain way. Similarly, a country also requires branding. A country can have a bad image, can have a good image. All that is created by the branding for that company. And there are people who actually build a country's brand. The country is safe, it is not safe. If you come as a tourist, what will happen to you? Will you be taken care? Will there be hospitality? If you come as a businessman in that country, what will happen to your investment? Will you get the money that you invested with profits? Will there be any regulations? Will there be any clean practices? So there are a lot of other issues. It is safe, you can travel in night, is there going to be entertainment somewhere, and so on. So even country requires to build their brand, and they need to propel themselves. So if the country is very popular globally, then obviously somebody has done the branding activity to build the name and fame of the country. Now a company can also have a very strong brand name associated with themselves, just like Tata. Tata is more than 100-year-old company out of India, but they have built a brand over the years. The Tata brand has become so powerful that whatever they do, their brand has an impact on the product, even though if they make salt. So it's simple thing like salt, if you put Tata, then this salt is going to be the best salt which you can buy, best iodized salt. So it is better than other products which are salt. A simple thing like a salt can also carry a brand of Tata, or a very large machinery of which are used in mining, etc., can also be built by Tata. So when Tata build a product, whatever they do, the brand of Tata is so strong, it is going to be good. So there could be examples of other similar company branding. For example, when you say India Inc., there are very few companies brand that comes to our mind. One is Infosys, other is Tata, then Adani, and Reliance. So some of these companies are there which are doing groundbreaking work and a lot of work in India, a lot of pioneering work they are doing. So they are ensuring that the brand value, if somebody says, hi, I'm working with Reliance, that means they will have a clean practice, they will get the right product from that company. And hence, because I'm dealing with Reliance, I'm dealing with Tata's, I'm dealing with Adani's, I'm dealing with Kirloskar, the brands has a lot of weightage, and half the battle of basically selling your merchandise, your product, is won if you have a very strong brand. So things like that. Now branding is also required for things like forums. For example, NASSCOM is a good example. Now NASSCOM has to also promote their services for the sake of selling, helping their partners sell them outside India, and the partners which are in other countries to sell and find IT companies out of India. So IT companies need to sell to other countries needs to buy from India. So that is the activity NASSCOM does, and it's a forum, it's a forum which will make two businessmen meet each other. Now, what is the advantage? If I go to NASCOM, what will I get? If I pay their annual fee, what do I do? Will I get new business? So that is a question of any member joining NASCOM, and that is a basic question. And in order to establish themselves, being a forum where people can buy and sell, they also have to establish their brand. That if I go to NASCOM and not anybody else, you know, there is always a competition between different NASCOM and other agencies which are doing pretty much a similar work. So why people basically go to NASCOM? Because they get the best outcome out of it. They will be able to find buyer in other countries quickly, faster than any other forum which can provide. So they have to also ensure that, you know, when they provide all these services, they have to also do branding. They have to talk about this data point that, hey, we do these for you. If you come to us, we will help you grow better and faster. So this is what the branding will bring to NASCOM. And last is the website. So if you have a website, you need to do branding. For instance, Naukri. Naukri is such a powerful brand because it provides employment opportunities to so many people. But we don't know what is the company behind Naukri. We know Naukri will give you, if you go to Naukri, register your profile, there will be a call from a employer. There might be a situation where you may get a job. But there is a company behind this website. So nobody knows the company. I mean, I'm sure many people will know what is the company because it has been there for a very long time. But nobody knows the kind of work the company is doing to build Naukri as a brand. So Naukri has become a very big brand on its own, being just a website. And the company behind it is Info Edge Private Limited. So you see that Naukri brand is so powerful as compared to the company behind it. Now I'll give you another example. Google.com. It is obviously much bigger than Naukri. Google.com is such a big brand globally as a search engine. All it does is it gives you search engine capability and other things which are associated with it. You know, search, you can search pretty much anything on Google. But the company behind it's called Alphabet Inc. So people don't know what is the company, but the Google is such a big brand today, controlling almost like 30 to 40% of the global businesses, and the company behind it is Alphabet. So the Google brand is much bigger than the company which looks after that brand. So you see, the whole objective of having this discussion was that branding is absolutely important. Everyone needs it, and if you don't do branding, you are not going anywhere. Whether you are a forum, you are a website, you are a company, you are a country, you are a region, or you are an individual. So you need to work on your brand first. I mean, when you start your company, even if you are a trainer, you need to develop your brand. Very important point that I want to drive by these examples. So now we will understand what is the importance of branding. See, if you do branding properly, then you will actually gain a lot of customer awareness. So why we do branding? See, branding is that you establish yourself, your company, your work should be displayed in front of people, in front of your target audience, and so on. So when you actually brand your company, your work, it is the customer awareness that you achieve. And when I say customer awareness, see, it's like this: if 100 people watch your advertisement or some information about your work or your company or your website, the chances are 1 or 2 will come back and like to show interest in what you do. 98% of the people will keep that in their memory, and probably in future they may become your prospects. But the thumb rule is, say for example, if you start your branding today, the thumb rule is the conversion of percolating your messages out in the field will result in a certain percentage of gratification. However, you have no control on who can be your customer. So, one of the activity which is a mundane activity of increasing your customer awareness all the time, but who can buy from you? Many people say that, hey, I will send email marketing, I will do digital marketing, I will do XYZ, reach out plan to the client. The problem there really is that all of this will not work if you have not worked in developing your brand, because people don't know you. If you try to reach to somebody who's not aware of what you do, he's never seen your face, he's never seen your logo, he's not even seen the website, he's not seen any advertisement about you, the chances are they will not be attracted to what you're saying. And if you try to reach out to him, it will result in a something which will become sort of an exercise where you actually end up telling him what you do. So you can actually bridge the gap by increasing the customer awareness. You start advertising early in the life cycle based on the branding techniques that we will discuss later on in our workshop. But I think increasing customer awareness is one of the critical tasks, and that is why you need branding. And don't think that if you do customer awareness campaign, you will get thousands of leads coming out from there. It is a constant activity which you have to continue doing, keep increasing the customer awareness all the time. And even though if you are like 100-year-old as an organization, you still need to continue doing your customer awareness, because the customers are X number of customers which are limited in the market. And then you have to keep on telling them what you do, what you are, what is the company logo, etc. Once you have garnered certain X amount of customers, then you have to also ensure that the customers who are now buying from you are not going in any other direction, because the market is such that there is always competition. And then when you are doing business, there are others also, 100 other people who are doing similar business, and they will find innovative ways to attract the customers, because everybody is trying to do innovative branding and also customer reach out plans. So the chances are that when you are doing your branding and customer reach out, you have to ensure that the customer loyalty is also maintained with you. So you have to keep doing what you're doing, any customer success, anything that your extraordinary innovation that you have done, which will bring advantage. And what is the reason that the customers stick around with you? That you offer something which nobody else can match in the price and performance. So branding is a very good exercise which will ensure that the loyalty is maintained with you. For example, if you buy a car from let's say a Japanese car, people know that you never have to open the hood of the car. It will never break down, it will give you comfort, it will keep running for 10 years without any flaw, and after 10 years it will attract a lot of resale value. So that is why people buy Toyota cars and any other Japanese or Korean cars, because they run. You see, by virtue of branding themselves on the basis of their product, they are garnering the customer loyalty, right? So whatever happens, the customer is not going to go away to any other brand, because the cars that they buy, the product that they buy from this car, they have complete faith on the car. It will never break down. They have got very good service, value for money, and hence the loyalty is maintained. So that is one example of increasing customer loyalty. But the point I'm trying to make here is, you have to do branding to ensure that your customers are sticking with you. And why this is so important? Simply because that there are X number of customers which can be counted. You cannot keep finding new customers every day. you have to ensure that whatever customers you have, the growth is only 20%. Say for example, suppose you have 100 customers, the new customers that you will find will be only 20. It cannot happen that you have 100 customers and next month you will have another 100 customers. It is not going to happen. So that is why keep that in mind, that if you have a continuous business from existing customers, you are better off as a business rather than thriving on finding new customers, because finding new customers is more difficult than maintaining the existing client. So that is why you have to ensure proper branding to make sure that you have done something to increase the customer loyalty. So you may have a survey, you may have advertisements, you may have innovation, that you are adding new features to your service offerings or your product for free, whatever, it can be anything. But you have to think as an entrepreneur, as a startup, or as a small medium enterprise business owner, or as a leader, you have to think about this aspect also when it comes to branding. Now we come to the third subject. The branding will be driven by the quality of the product that you provide. If you give a product which is not up to the mark, then obviously with that just one instance, your branding will go for a just go down. It will go for a toss. So the whole point is that you have to ensure that while you're talking about XYZ, you are also translating your brand in reality into your products. So when you come out with a new product, make sure that there is a saying in English, walk the talk. So when you are doing branding and you are saying I am best quality, and then the product comes out, it is not as good quality. So you have to keep ensuring and keep thriving that your brand is actually translated into your product, the quality of the product. So in fact, if you keep saying, hey, I have the best product, and your product is not so good, then actually it will bring down your branding itself. So it will not be sufficient to just keep talking that, hey, I have the best product, I have the best innovation, I have the best price performance, and in reality it does not happen that way. It will actually spoil your branding. So you have to ensure that whatever you're offering is very good quality, and it is up to the mark, so that you have customer loyalty. So going back to the previous slide where you will talk about customer loyalty. So by ensuring that your product branding is similar to what you're talking about in your advertisement, in the field, and to people. Branding will also bring competitive advantage. So even though you have X number of customers with you, and there are prospects which you want to engage with, but everybody is looking at the alternatives. Everybody is all the time, it's like this. If you are a consumer, you'll always look at an alternative. Suppose you have a car from Toyota, but then if you get a similar equal product from a Hyundai, then you can shift there. So you have to ensure that the branding is perfect. You keep telling your client or your prospect that this is the advantage if you buy from me. So you have to completely keep ensuring that the competitive advantage is always maintained in your favor. So you see, this is not an easy task. So far we have discussed that you have to do branding in order to find new customers. Once you find customers, you have to do branding to retain them, so that you have customer loyalty. Then you have to also provide good quality product, so that customer feel satisfied. They feel that they have paid the right amount of money for this product. And now you're talking about also doing branding to ensuring that you have a competitive advantage as compared to other players in the market. So your branding strategy should encompass all these aspects. You cannot ignore one and just look at the other one. So your branding strategy has to be consistent across the landscape. Branding can also be developed by introducing new products and services. So, say for example, suppose you're already providing one side of product, you can then after 6 months you can uh, diversify and have a similar product but of a different kind. So that, say for example, you're selling like a fountain pen, and you know that fountain pen is purchased by certain set of people, and these people will never buy anything else. They will like to have only fountain pen. So you have found 100 clients which are using fountain pen. Now you have exhausted your uh, client list by selling 100 fountain pen in last previous month. So what we will do in the next month? You know that I have exhausted the list. There are out of 1,100 like to buy fountain pen, and they have purchased from you and they are happy with it. You have done the customer loyalty branding. You have done everything. So as a growth of the company is now stopped. You have developed, you have reached the market cap. In that market area, you have 100% clientele for fountain pen. So now what you could do is you can then launch a ball pen, because now you establish yourself as a good quality fountain pen, and then you can now address the other segment of the market who don't like fountain pen. They can buy a ball pen from you. So if you keep diversifying into similar areas, slowly finding clients by introducing new products and services, then your branding will also keep increasing. And slowly, I picked up example of writing instruments. You can develop fine art pencils, and then you keep growing like that. Similarly, there could be a car manufacturer. They can start with tires, and then they end up after a couple of years producing the full car. Similarly, let's look at example of electric vehicle manufacturers. They can start with a moped, then they can come out with a scooter, then they can come out with a bike, and then they come out with a three-wheeler, and then they come out with a four-wheeler. So this is how they can progress. And this is very important to keep running the business, because if you produce only one idea, the chances are that idea has a limited shelf life. So your branding exercise should be complete, should encompass that activity where you have to ensure that you keep launching new product and offerings. Very important, to grow you need funding, and the funding will only come if the people invest in your business, and the investment will happen only when you offer them a growth path. Say for example, if there is an investor and he has a lot of money, $1 million with him, and he is looking at making $2 million out of his investment. Now what are his options? The easiest is he go to a bank, and he will give it a fixed deposit which will give him 10% or 8% yield. Now with that kind of investment, he is not going to make 2 million. I mean, he can make 2 million, it will take him 10 years. So you have to offer something which is better than what the bank can offer. So obviously you have to give some very attractive figures. If you give me money, I will give you a return on investment like this. I will make sure that in 2 years you will double it. So now this is very important. If your product sales are also branded, that hey, you have grown like this, you are $100,000, now you are $1 million. So obviously you are growing, and this kind of branding can help you find investors. So when you get investment capital, the chances are that your company will thrive, and then you can look at new avenues, expanding markets, opening new offices, hiring new people, building a infrastructure for manufacturing. There could be endless supply of capital. And if you don't do this branding around the growth element of your company, innovation, growth, customer loyalty, the chances are the investors will not come to you. They will find some other avenue, and that is where the problem is. So you should always look at investment for growth as a business owner, so that your brand is very strategically strengthened, and people are willing to fund your brand, so that there is a growth in the brand. We have the funding now, but who will work for us? So now there is a different kind of branding that you have to do in terms of the human resources, human capital. Because if you have the funding, you have the capital, you have the clientele, now you want to grow, you want to set up a new office in a new city, or you want to set up a new office in a different country. So who's going to work for you? So people are very smart nowadays. They like to see what you do, how people rate you, and so on. So now you have to look at branding which is related to how good you are in terms of treating your own people. So now you're treating your clients, you're treating the industry, you're treating the analyst, and you have to also focus on how you treat the people. And to give an example, some of these IT companies, they actually do branding only about their subject, how their human capital is, how good their HR department is. And so it's a question of demand and supply. So you have a demand, and the supply is the people. So if you have people, then only you can fulfill the demand. There is no point in having demand and not having the supply. So you have to look at that you are sending the right message by doing the right branding, so that people are attracted and join you. And in the end, by doing proper branding, if you follow all of these ideas that we are talking about today, you can become a market leader. And the idea is that it's not the fame that you're looking at, it's basically looking at how do you capture the maximum amount of business. When you get into any business, the hunger for revenue should be there. If you don't have hunger for revenue, the chances are that you will not succeed in the business. So if you want to do some business, you should always have hunger for revenue, and you should always look at what will give you maximum revenues. So a branding around becoming a market leader is also very important, and that will propel more business for your company, more growth for your company. So that is why you may have heard about people talking about, hey, I'm the best in the industry, best product in the industry, and so on. So I think these are the things that people have to do in order to build their company. And I think the law of doing your business is the same. You have to start with branding. You don't set up your business without doing branding. Many times people commit a big mistake. They don't actually build the name and fame for themselves, the branding for themselves, and they start the business, and then they start investing in doing branding, and then after 6 months they lose a lot of money, and they run the company without any business. So I think the branding is such an important aspect. We discuss all these things simply because to drive that point that branding is such an important aspect of business, where people tend to ignore this. They focus more on building their company, building a product, not knowing how they will promote it. Once the product is ready after 6 months, who will buy? And many times you don't even get the feedback from the field. Say for example, today you decide to buy, you manufacture something, and you feel that there may be a lot of requirement for it. But when you launch after 6 months, the chances are that the market may have changed, regulations may have changed, and people may not like to buy that product. So the feedback is also important. So if you are not doing branding, there is nothing coming back to you from the field itself. So you may talk to a lot of gurus, but everybody has the same problem. Unless you do your own branding, the direct feedback, direct gratification will not happen from the field itself. And that is where people go wrong. The reason for covering the branding subject in such length is to drive the point that you start your branding even before you establish your company. So here, friends, we will stop for 2 minutes, and this is a quiz that we want to run. So welcome back. I'm sure you have noted down these questions. You can write to me giving your answers and we can have a one-to-one discussion later on. But I think let's move on to the next section, which is about different branding techniques. So you see, each category of activity will will define that you know each category will be a different type of branding services, which will be a different activity altogether. So just give me a moment. So a product, suppose you are coming out with a product, the branding for the product will largely depend on the type of product that you're developing. um, Now if your product is sold in retail market, then your branding will be about the consumers. Your messaging, your marketing messages, your branding, your logo should be more should talk more about how public will benefit by using these products. But then that is not the only business happens in the field. There are people who are doing wholesale kind of business. They produce something which does not go to the market directly. It becomes sort of an input to some other business. Your offering is then used by some other industry and then assembled into something else. So there could be instance where you're actually a product manufacturer, but your market segment is not retail. There could be a market which is meant for OEMs. So your offerings will be taken by the OEMs. They will assemble things, customize it, use it, and so on, and then they will resell it to retail. So it depends really. When you are actually into product arena, you have to ensure that your messaging should be proper and with in line with the market that you are addressing. There could be a raw material manufacturer. The branding for the raw material manufacturer will be different than OEM clientele and then the retail business. So things like that. So it's completely different. For example, if there is a steel manufacturer, the steel cannot be used directly by anyone. So steel is selling to XYZ client. So if you convert iron into steel, who's going to buy that? Somebody has to buy that steel. So your clientele is the manufacturers who are producing special pumps, cars, heavy machinery. So those factories becomes your client. So your branding is related to those clients. You produce highest variety of different variety of steels. So anybody needs different variety of steel, they can approach you and so on. If you actually advertise different variety of steel in the retail segment, where people are looking at buying mobile phones and your clothes and cars, the chances are your branding is going wrong. So I'm not saying that people will do that. I'm just using this as an example to drive that your product offering and what segment you're selling into, your branding strategy will be driven mostly by that. For instance, let's take another example. Rolls-Royce. For many years, it has been known to everyone that Rolls-Royce is selling by invitation. So you see, their branding is so strong. You simply cannot go and buy a car. You have to be invited to buy a car. So their branding is so important that if you have a Rolls Royce, that means you have been selected as a client. Right? You see, so their product branding is different than let's say Hyundai product branding. Hyundai, you go to my dealer and pick up the car. Anyone can buy the car. So that is why you don't see Rolls Royce advertisements in any of the magazines. you will probably see in a very selected kind of media, and they have their own method of reaching out to people whom they feel fit for using their car. And even though if you're a very rich man, you're an extremely rich man, but they will not give you chance to buy the car. If you are a god man, for example, the chances are you want to buy a Rolls Royce and you can afford it because you have so much of money, but Rolls Royce will not allow you to buy these cars. So things like that, so each product has a different branding, and when you do product branding, you have to use the right technique to address your clientele. You have to understand what are the clients who are going to watch who are a target audience. These clients can be prospects, they can be clients, or they can be future clients. So what are the types of activity you're doing so that you're conveying the right message? Then you're using the right medium to reach out to them. You can use mailers, you can use website, you can use personal phone calls, you can use advertisements, you can use social media, but in all of that you have to ensure that you're reaching out to right audience, right type of clientele. Now if you want to promote your company, a corporate, then you have to talk about, you cannot talk about your products. When you say Tata, you want to brand your corporate itself, corporate culture, then if you keep talking about your Tata Salt and eatables and cars and heavy machinery, it will not build your corporate brand, a cultural brand. So you have to talk about how good you are in terms of solving the employees' problems, what kind of job satisfaction you give, what are the growth prospects for Tata, what is the the place in society you build for your employees, are there any health plans, health benefit if you join Tata, any company. So if you look at Tata, they are actually doing a lot of their branding around these activities, so that people now say, hey, if you join Tata, you will get growth, you will get job security, you will get money, you will get help in terms of children education, you will get help in terms of your accommodation, you will get health cover plans paid by the company, you will get to see travel the world, you will get paid holidays, and you will have nice place to sit, you will have nice colleagues to work with, and so on. So the branding around building your corporate is different than doing your product branding. So I think we need to understand this very clearly, even though this workshop is for beginners, but I think everyone should think what they are doing, and that is why I am trying to bring different aspects of different branding, which can be possible. And mind it, all of this is useful even for a small business. You have to separate yourself, you have to build your own brand as as the promoter of the company. Then you have to also ensure that your company has a brand associated with it. Then you have to also ensure that your corporate culture has a brand, your human capital has a brand, and also your product and services has a brand. So you see, it is an overall picture that you send to the field that will drive your business. Personal branding, your corporate branding, your product branding, your company branding, and your human capital branding. There are more also, we will come to that in a bit. So in terms of personal branding, you have to talk about things like you are doing some course, you have done your Harvard, you have completed executive MBA from Harvard. That can be a star in your personal branding. Or you have gone on a whitewater rafting, every year you go, so you are a sportsman. That can be a brand. Now this brand should not be linked to your company. You have to thrive in building your own brand separately, without any influence of your company, because company will do a different kind of branding, and it doesn't matter even if you do the same branding, it doesn't matter. But you have to ensure that your branding is differently driven, and it is not the same branding that your company is doing. Even though you're a small businessman and you have you sleep and breathe your company, but you still need to look at what you do to build your brand, and your company will build its brand, which you are only driving it, but it has to be separate branding. So in nutshell, the brand itself on the personal level is very very important, because if you are known if even though your company is small, but if you are able to build a brand of some way or the other, then people tend to have faith in the company. They know that this is a person with this kind of fame behind this company. So they try to bring, when they actually start buying from your company, the leadership brand is very very important, and it's absolutely clear that you need to do that. And that is why don't ignore building your personal brand. You have to ensure that your personal brand is always highlighted. Even though if you're in a company, your brand is very very important. Even if you have grown, your company has grown quite a bit, but your personal brand is still important. To throw an example, you look at Narayan Murthy. His personal brand is so huge. His company brand is also big, but his brand, I mean, his personal brand is that he's the MD of the company. But then he has other personalities. He talks in other forum, and he's indulging in other activities which are related to nation building. He's doing a lot of work in education, youngsters. So we can go on. There are people who are basically investing in building their own brand of different nature and different kind. Because if you actually increase that, then your perspective, your whole area of achieving the proper branding is increased. So you have to ensure that your personal branding is always developed as a leader, as an entrepreneur, or even as a trainer. Because then in the case of trainer, your personal branding is very very important. If you are a professor with 30 years experience, that is driving your training institute or training online business. So things like that, you have to ensure that you think about these concepts. Now the cultural branding is something which defines you as a human being. So what type of post you like? Say for example, let's say in the today's context, when everybody is on social media, you are liking, sharing certain type of activities on Facebook or on Twitter, etc. That is going to drive your branding in terms of your friend circle, or the kind of activities your company is indulging in. So it becomes a culture thing today, and now it's a lot easier to make or break. Earlier, you could have ignored it when the social media was not so active, like 10 years back. You could have ignored this aspect, very important aspect. But now, since everybody is on social media, the cultural background of the organization that you are building and your own personal image will be very heavily affected by the culture output. So you can try to make a cultural branding about yourself, that you tend to dislike certain things or you tend to like certain things, and that will stick onto you. Say for example, if you're indulging in too much of a religious rhetoric, then this will stick onto you, and then after some time your branding will take a totally different turn. It depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for that kind of orientation to build your brand, it's okay, it's fine, but you are the best person to decide. But then your branding will, the culture of your branding or your organization branding will be having X number of buyers which are of the same culture or society. So you have to ensure that you send the right messages, you make the right plans to convey the right messages overall by building your branding services. Now, one of the thing which is very important now at this point I would like to mention is when you have taken all the steps of building your brand, building your company's brand, you have taken the right decision to build your employee capital branding, you have reached a certain level where you have been doing this work for some time, but there is no growth, because it happens to everyone. You reach the certain level, and then it saturates the market. So you need to do something else. You need to shake up things, and co-branding is one of the activities which you can take up very easily. uh, what is co-branding? Co-branding is that you tie up with some other brand, well-known brand or similar brand, or a lower brand or a higher brand, doesn't matter. Co-branding basically means that you tie up with another brand, another company, or another person, and jointly come out with an offering. So that is what the co-branding is all about. It doesn't matter that you are a big brand or a equal brand or a large brand, powerful brand. It doesn't matter. You can co-brand with any type of logo, any type of company. The example that I want to give, there are many examples like that, and what I feel as a trainer, that everybody today talks about, hey, let's do collaboration, let's do this, let's do that, let's team up and work together. But the point is that they have no idea how to do collaboration, because if you can't do co-branding, there is no question of doing collaboration. So first thing is that you have to coexist with another brand. When you are doing co-branding, you have to also ensure that you don't think about things like, hey, I will make more money, he will make less money. The co-branding does not define what kind of money you will make. Co-branding is you are just conveying your teaming up together, conveying a certain message, and it is not that you are dependent only on that business. So the idea being that when you co-brand, you shake up market so that you can grow beyond the saturation point. For instance, if you buy a BMW car, you can buy Louis Vuitton bags, which are perfectly made for boot of BMW and with the BMW logo. So if you pay extra XYZ amount, you can get the customized Louis Vuitton bags for your BMW car. So it's a very good example of co-branding. It is not that those products are not sold. They are obviously sold separately, but then when you buy a car, you have an option. If you want a customized luggage for your boot area, you can get it from the best quality Louis Vuitton manufacturer, and with a lot of style and stuff like that. You can customize them the way you want. So this is a great example of co-branding. There are other examples. There are many other examples of co-branding. For example, if you look at the today's context in India, there are a lot of co-branding happening, which Netflix is doing. Netflix is the OTT platform which is providing a lot of video content for the consumption of Indians by and large. So the OTT is now tying up with all these TV broadcast services companies like Reliance or Tata. So if you take their connection, you will get X months free viewing of certain content. So this is nothing but a co-branded, where the two brands are coming together and selling their separate merchandises. So this is a very good technique if you are say for example a small businessman. It's a very good technique to start, pull up two small business people can come together, build their strengths together, and then go to the market, and then with co-branded, and then sell under these two umbrella of co-branding. It does not mean that your brand will not sell your own product. You have other offerings. So what you have done is you have defined a different product offering which is co-branded. So it is a very good idea when you are basically setting up your business to also think of tying up with other brands and launching in collaboration. And I think this will give you a chance to even talk to other business people when you start sharing success with others also. Now, the last branding technique is a composite co-branding, which is different from the co-branding, what we discussed in the previous slide. The composite is that product that you are using has another very powerful brand associated with it. For example, I am trying to say that if you buy a Dell, you will always see, in fact, if you buy a compact, you will see Intel inside logo. So it shows that Intel is a very, very powerful brand. But then if you buy a certain brand, they are co-branding, but it's composite. It is basically into one product offering. You buy a laptop from Dell or a PC from Dell, it will have Intel inside. So it's a very powerful way of doing co-branding. Co-branding, composite co-branding usually work in a situation where it may not be very good for all the situations, but it is good for a very powerful umbrella brand coming and then helping other smaller brands. So then there is no question of uniqueness or anything. The large brand will influence other brands. So at the beginning of the workshop I talked about Amitabh Bachchan. So it's a very good example of composite co-branding, because Amitabh Bachchan has a brand of his personal brand of his own. But then when he talks about Samsung, when he talks about a car, when he talks about XYZ, he is actually rubbing off his brand onto that brand. So Amitabh Bachchan's personal brand is huge. But then when he talks about Hyundai car, Santro, that I go to work driving a Santro, then his brand is influencing Santro. So this is the example of composite co-branding. It may not be relevant for all situations, all businesses, but yet it is one of the tool available for increasing your business. So summarizing this session of what to do when you're doing your branding. First, as I said, you have to look at creating your personal brand also. If you are a leader or if you are an entrepreneur, you are a leader of a team, you are a CEO, CIO, CXO, you have to look at building your personal brand. Many people tend to ignore it, but I think that is not the right attitude. You have to build your brand at par with your company's brand. So you have to ensure doing whatever it takes to build your brand. And that gives the confidence to your client, to your prospect. When they actually deal with a company, they know that this is a person behind as a leader in that company, and they recognize you as a person. So you have to keep ensuring that. Now in nutshell, you also have to do your company branding. So you have to ensure that the company's logo is visible quite often, because if you're out of sight, you're out of mind, especially when you're a small player. If you're a large player, you will have a lot of budgets, you will have a lot of muscle power in order to spread your messages, flyers, and put board outside your branch offices and across the city, multiple offices. So they have more muscle. The problem is when you're small, then you have to ensure that you are visible. So there are different techniques we will talk about after the small quiz. We will talk about what are the different techniques to build your brand being a small business. However, your company has to ensure that their logo, their work is visible. That means the company is always moving. It's not stagnant. Then all of this, so what is happening? You're creating a hype, and then you also have an heritage, because the person's leadership team behind the company is also building their brand, sending their individual messages out, doing something else other than the company is doing, and things like that. So you're building a package, sort of a aura for running your company. And if you don't do any campaign, then the campaigns, how will you reach to the market segment? So you have to continuously keep doing the campaigns, keep running those campaigns to ensure that every second day or third day you're in the news somehow or the other. So we can come up with these ideas, and we can have an advanced course next week where you can learn about these ways of doing campaign. Fourth, very important, you have to keep the field motivated. when I say motivated, it's not only the client which is motivated, it's not only the employees which are motivated, it's not only the investors who are motivated. So when you keep your messages keep going out every second day, people start seeing your logo and your work, your innovation, your white papers, your new activities that you are indulging in. You found a new client, you announce it. You open a new office, you announce it. You come up with a new idea, announce it. Why keep it to yourself? So by doing all of these different activities, you are actually motivating your clients in terms of uh, clients, your employees, your investors. Hey, these guys are doing something. These guys are very active. These guys are very aggressive, and so on. And then by doing all of this, you will be able to connect to new people. You have your own connections, but then you keep building your network. And business today is about networking. So if you have a right network, you will be able to make money. And if you don't have a right network, then you will not be able to make money. So it's like that. So when you do right branding, you reach out to the people, you convey the messages that you have, you keep motivating all these people who are watching you, and then you keep connecting with a similar type of people, because that's the market segment you're working with. Above all, you have to be creative. You have to know exactly how you will do all of this. So you have to do in a very imaginative manner. You have to be creative, and then you have to be strategic, because you cannot keep repeating those things. Say for example, suppose you went on a whitewater rafting, you cannot continue that messaging for a month. So you have to at least apply some strategy. What will happen? Usually what happens is that these are the activities that are planned at least for 2 months, and then there is a calendar which is produced, a branding calendar, and then the calendar is then followed religiously. So you as a leader, or your employee who's running these campaigns, or if you have engaged somebody to drive this, you have to ensure that the branding calendar is followed, adhered to, and the strategy has to be in place. So with this, we'll stop for some time, for 1 minute or so, and there is a small quiz that you can attempt, and you can write to me with these answers if you like these, and then I can respond to you, connect with you, and we can have a debate on that. So welcome back, friends. We'll move to the next section, which is about the actual branding for small businesses and for beginners. First thing that is required here is you need to have a very strong research based strategy. You see, when you're running your own small business, what makes you think that you can run this business? What makes you think that, say for example, if you open a restaurant, it will run? Because 80% of the restaurants fail. That's a reality. Not everyone succeeds. So there has to be a proper messaging that has to go out. That messaging will not go out properly if you don't have proper surveying capacity, a research based decision. Because you know that, say for example, let's go back to the example of restaurants. There could be vegetarian living in that area where you open your restaurants, and then you open a non-vegetarian restaurant. The chances are that this is a very simple example. There could be many things to it. You can open a Chinese, and the people there in the neighborhood don't like Chinese, and so on. So there could be many examples like that. I think the net point I'm trying to drive is that the research is the key to start any branding. And then before you start, so I'm taking you one step back from branding. As I said so far is that before you start your business, you have to do branding. But before you do branding, you have to do research. So I'm saying that you have to have a proper research in a very systematic manner. and the research will be based on various factors in terms of market size, in terms of how much customer will pay for your product or services, um, in terms of how you will reach out, what is the best method to reach out to them, how long you see this business running. If you start today, will you have a 5-year life, will you have a 10-year life, or will you have only 6 months life for that product offering? So I mean, there are thousand other things. I cannot talk about all of them, but I think the whole point is that you have to have research done. If you have a proper research, more data points, then that will help you drive the right branding strategy. As I talked about the branding calendar, you cannot work on a branding calendar if you don't have a research data with you. Second thing is, when you have a research based approach, then that research will also tell you that how the input from the market is helping you. Say for example, after doing research, you created a branding calendar, and then it's a 2 months branding calendar that every 3 days or 4 days you will publish something or the other, some infographics or some video or something else in various format. So when you do that, the chances are that not many people are engaging with it. So that is one feedback that your research team has to get, or you when you're doing research for your business, you need to get that input from the market. See, whatever you learn from me, or you learn from your experience, or you learn by talking to other leaders, will be of zero value if you don't hear from the market directly. So when you actually do your business, you have to ensure that the market has to give you direct feedback. You cannot get a Gartner report and apply that to your business. It is a good starting point. It is a good starting point. But when you build your business, you have to ensure that what is the market segment you're trying to reach out to, what is their feeling about you, and that feedback has to be there. That feedback will happen only if you have a proper research document with you. So I think before you start your branding, you have to do research, and this is something that I want to emphasize on. Collect as much data about the product, about the services, about the clientele, about the industry as much as you can. Build a model. I'm not suggesting that you should use this model or that model, but have some data available with you, and then decide what messages you have to send out as a branding, and then decide when you want to start manufacturing your product or services. Having done your brand research, then you have also built a branding calendar, marketing calendar. Remember, I was talking about the feedback. Now the feedback will give you this kind of picture. It will be a SWOT analysis about your business. See, you have come out with an idea. You've done research whether this idea will be successful or not. And today's world, to run different research is very simple. There are a lot of free websites which will conduct surveys for you, or using some of these social media, you can conduct these surveys. You can ask questions. You can build a survey form and ask the question. So that could be one starting point. I'm not saying it's the best, but I'm just throwing some ideas. So for free, you can start doing some research. You can do it for some time, but this research will give you a lot of inputs. What people think about you, what people think about the product that you are trying to launch, what people think about the services. Will they pay for it? I think that's a very critical question which you as a businessman has to understand that. So all of these inputs will give you information to build a SWOT model. So some of you, in fact, everybody knows what is SWOT. SWOT is nothing but, in short, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So what are your strengths which you will build, and what are the weaknesses which you need to reduce? So until unless you have a research platform, until unless you have a feedback mechanism by doing proper branding, you will not be able to build your SWOT model. So you build on your strength, so you know that these are my strengths and nobody else can match that. And if you identify your weaknesses, you have to continue reducing those weaknesses. And then if you come across an opportunity, you have to ensure that you exploit capitalize on that opportunity. And if you come across a similar threat in that, try to avoid it, bypass it. So if you have not made a model, you will not be able to come out with a SWOT analysis. So I think it's very, very important, very step by step method of building your business. You first do your research, then you do your branding. The branding will also build a mechanism to get the feedback done, either through polling or word of mouth, or send people, or conduct some actual research survey. Put that data into your SWOT model. That will give you a clear indication of how much money to invest and what to do. So the whole idea is that when you start your business, you continue doing all of these activities, and that will help you succeed in your business. And if you don't do this, then the chances are things will be at luck. The success and failure will be purely on the luck basis, not really scientific in any way. Once you have built all of these models, then you build a branding hub, a branding strategy, which will be running for forever almost. So you do your research. It's a continuous process, repeatable process. The research keeps happening. Then your SWOT models keep evolving, and then your branding will keep coming out of it. So usually what happens is that how do you take your messages out in the field? It could be related to the name of the company. Now your product offering is something related to education, but you want to call it your company name is something else which has nothing to do with education, like disco, that's it, right? So their mismatch happens, and that reduces your brand value. So you have to ensure that your name, your website, and your everything is properly designed in such a way that it sends the right message out for the offering that you have. Then when you decide your logo, it should convey the right meaning again. You cannot decide a logo using your creative license and design a logo which is a mismatch to what you're offering. For example, I'm offering consulting services to startups and SMEs, and my logo is very simple. It's the name of the company. It's a very simple, well-spaced name of the company is my logo. So if somebody is using my services, they know my company and they know me, and this is the logo that I have, and I have registered this logo so nobody else can copy this. So things like that you should do, and all of this will be done easily if you have a proper research and proper branding mechanism in place. And how do you reach out to your client? You have to build a website. So your website should be in line with what your business is, and and website is nothing but is your window to the world. So is the flyer, so is the presentation. So you have to ensure that whatever you have done have a consistency across. So you have a logo, you have your company logo, your website, your flyer, your business card, and your collateral carrying the same color, same logo, no difference at all. So make sure that it is talking about the same thing, no spelling mistakes here and there. That basically makes the brand more strong. Now once you have established the basics building block of doing this, then you come to medium of what you will be doing. So if you are say for example, if you are running a small business which is servicing the close by clients, then you can choose various methods of sending your messages. You can use a banner, you can use leaflet flyers sent out to their houses, or you can also use social media, telling them, hey, I'm doing this XYZ. And there is no second thought about it. If you don't do advertising about yourself, nobody will know that you're here, you exist here. You have to tell the world. I mean, if you don't put a board outside your office, a small office, how people will know that you're doing this XYZ activity inside this office? So you have to talk about what you're doing, You have to ensure that you reach out to the client telling them, hey, I'm such and such person, I'm providing these services. So you have to ensure that you can reach out to depending on what clientele you're trying to attack. Choose your method of sending your messages. And in today's environment, you can actually advertise on social media. You can choose what you want to do, what type of age group, and so on. In all of this, since in this subject we are discussing only about the how to start your business and all that, but all of this requires a lot of in-depth analysis and research, because a wrong move can spoil your brand itself. So you have to keep ensuring that you follow the best practices. You don't deviate from this practice. Even if you deviate, there has to be a proper thinking behind it, and it has to be done seriously. So you cannot execute an idea which came to you today. You have to think through. You have to also apply the SWOT model to it. Cause and effect. If you convey this message, what will be the effect? All that has to get into your model, and then you keep churning. I mean, you don't do anything ad hoc. Even though if you are a solopreneur, you are running your own one-man show, you need to be very watchful of these things. We talked about co-branding, composite co-branding. That will give you something called influencers. Now, influencers are becoming very, very critical in today's world when it comes to the small, medium enterprises and also the startup. The problem is that the startups and SMEs don't have a reach like a large corporation. So that is why the influencers plays a major role, because if somebody else has bought it, it must be good. And somebody else has conveyed the right message, it must be good. So things like that. So you have to ensure that you have roped in the right type of influencers, and you simply cannot afford to ignore this aspect of influencers, because that is a reality. You have to collaborate, you have to co-brand and influence your brand, because in absence of your brand being visible X number of times, if you don't have influencers, that limitation will stick onto you. So you have to ensure that you rope in right type of co-branding influencers, co-branding people with you, or tie up with other brands, and so on. And then you can think about advertising. You can start thinking, once you have all of these things that we discussed today in today's session, then you start thinking about how much money you want to spend on advertising, and then advertise, because advertisers will take your message far and wide. So you have to ensure that when you advertise, you just simply don't advertise by paying X amount of money in a newspaper, for example. And if you're running a business which is catering to X type of people, because going to a newspaper advertising, what is the point in doing that if people don't watch it? I mean, your target audience don't watch it. So it is important to decide what budget you have, what is the reach, and how you want to advertise. So you have reached to the point where you are thinking about advertising now by spending money. All this will not happen if you have not done the groundwork, and all of this groundwork is ignored many times, because people concentrate on the offerings. They cut short all of these activities and they straight away jump to offerings. And the problem is that when you start offering, you have to continue doing that, and you will take more time to succeed. So we'll give it a break for a few minutes and come back. In the meantime, you can look at this quiz question and try to attempt it. Welcome back, friends. we will have a Q&A session. If anybody has a question, we can take that up. Or at the end of the program, we will give the email. You can reach out to us. Anything specific you have or any suggestions you have, we can take that up separately with you after this session. So to summarize, the topics that we discussed today is how do we build our research hub that will give us to create a branding strategy that will help us create our company itself. So your research will lead to your brand, will lead to your company, and then after that you have to do your SWOT analysis. That should become your continuous improvement process. And then once you have done these basic things, then you start thinking of roping in co-branding partners. You can start thinking of roping in your influencers. You can start thinking of building your advertising strategy, and that will take you to the next step of the business. So next steps are much more elaborate, and in the next discussion we will discuss about how do you take this to create your sales strategy. You have built your company, you have built your brand, you have built your personal brand, you have built your co-branded strategy, you have also built your influencers, and you have built your advertising. Now the leads are coming in. How do you convert them? So if the lead keeps coming in, doesn't mean that it will convert automatically. You need to do something else to convert those leads, because otherwise those leads will be wasted. So you have to build a sales activities around those leads which you are getting because of your branding. Then you have to look at how do you monetize your brand itself. So that is a high level subject that we will cover in the next workshop. And over time, how you can diversify it into other businesses, because if you stick around to one business, the chances are that your business will go down after a few years of success. So you have to keep diversifying and keep doing new things. That is a rule of any business. And then when you diversify, you have to keep building your very strategically driven marketing hub, so that your brand, your personal brand, your company's brand, your product offerings, your advertisers, all are part of that ecosystem. So next workshop we'll talk about that. Business is nothing but networking. So how to become a good networker? Because if you are a good networker, then you will grow, your business will grow, people will have faith on you, and so on. And last subject in the next workshop would be how to cultivate loyalties among employees, customers, and investors. So with this, I thank you all for watching this workshop. If you have any questions, please write to me and I will take them up either in the next workshop or one-on-one. I will reach out to you, and we will see how we can address those challenges that you're facing. I will meet you in the next workshop. Until then, I like to say goodbye.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
Good morning, Nival.
Good morning, CK. Have you got your token?
Oh yes, the app is working absolutely fine. I got my token. I got a slot allotted for me. It is 1:15 in the afternoon, and I have to go slightly before 1:15 so that I reach there on time, because I have only 15 minutes to make my purchases, and
Wow.
are all related to only provisions. So I will be on time today.
So you're going to have a list of things to buy?
There is a cap on how much you can buy. There is a cap of
Right.
1,000 rupees. So
Okay.
today I can buy only whatever is available within 1,000 rupees. So if I convert that into pounds for you. I think it's like 10 pounds.
£10, which isn't a great deal, but it gives you, it's great because you're focused. You're going to have to be really punctual. You just mentioned the magic words. I need to get there a little early. The good news is there won't be any crowds. You won't have to get in the car. You can take a nice stroll, a nice walk, taking some fresh air. All of these things that we should be doing on a regular basis. Having that little, we always talk about this routine, and that's a brilliant part of the routine, because guess what? If you miss your slot, the good news is you save 10,000 rupees. The bad news is you don't get your provisions. So it's really important to be punctual. How many times do we say be punctual? Be on time. Get to meetings on time. Say it all the time, don't we? And that's what SME owners should be doing. And over here, we celebrated you had your Corona champions the other week. Everyone got out of their rooftops.
We call them Corona warriors, which includes the medical staff, police, law and order apparatus, the municipality apparatus, the entire people who are actually going out and helping rest of us. So we call them Corona warriors.
Well, not only are they helping, they're doing their job. That's what they're paid to do. These are really tough times, but they're being asked to go beyond the normal, because they're having to deal with, people like us, and sadly there are idiots out there, partying and barbecuing and just not being smart, being normal human beings. But last night, 8 o'clock UK time, we opened the doors, made a huge noise, and anyone can go and Google it, and they'll see people applauding. We just called it the NHS last night. I'm sure we'll be celebrating the rest of our warriors as we go forward. But it's the weekend tomorrow. You're halfway closer to it than I am, being 5.5 hours ahead. And then that's the time to relax. So all this week, all of the listeners on here have been really focused on their business. Have you been focused on your business?
Oh, yes.
Have you been contacting people? You have. But I wonder how many others have. So here's an opportunity now. Forget what's happened in the last 3 days. Get yourself ready today for Monday morning. Get yourself into some very practical things. As we say, this is really simple. This is not difficult. This is being a human being. Waking up, getting dressed, getting showered, eating breakfast, and then getting ready for work, but not actually physically going. Go through the mental things. We said this before. Mentally go to work. You open the door, you get in the car, you have all the aggravation of the journey. It's an hour in heavy traffic. Look at what we're saving. The hour in heavy traffic's gone. Magically gone, because we're staying at home. And then get yourself into a workplace. Get your workstation. Find a place in your house where you can go and work. And don't have it cluttered around you, because cluttered is what we call behavioural waste. But make sure you've got plenty of water, because you need to hydrate. And I have lots of coffee as well, so... But you just have what you normally do. I mean, is anything other than common sense, CK?
Yeah, I think I just want to add, while having water, if you can make it lukewarm, mix a little bit of basil, it'll have a very good effect on the people actually, and yourself.
Oh, there you go. There you go. We're becoming herbalists as well here. So just that's a little added advice. If you like it, do more of it, as they say. And the little and often. How many times have we heard a little and often? And there's a phrase I saw recently. It said, if you're having to listen to it 3, 4, and 5 times, you didn't listen the first time.
Right.
So it's just about learning how to listen. We're giving some cracking advice here, which is nothing more than common sense, because you've been doing it for nearly 20 years. I've been doing this for 20 years. My workspace is well defined. Even when we're having building work in the house, I need to find workspace where I can go and work. You need to get that into your routine, and it's simple. So forget what you've done over the last 3 days. It may have been good, bad, or indifferent. If it was good, great, keep doing it. If it wasn't so good, get a clean sheet for Monday, but do all the planning today. There's a half a day left in India, and this your week off. So use it wisely. Recharge the batteries. Anyway, day 3. I'm not going to see you on day 4 and 5 because we're taking the weekend off. Okay, CK, right? This is weekend off, family time. So I'll see you on day 6 on Monday morning.
Same here, Neville. Have a nice day, have a nice Friday, and enjoy your weekend.
And you. Good luck, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello friends, this is Chandrakant from Akulmach Technologies, and as you know, in this series we are trying to enhance the literacy around the digital issues. And since so many people are now visiting the web and also putting their work on the online on the web, so it is, I think, becoming very important to have the right amount of knowledge, right amount of literacy, and also understanding how and why you should use certain functionality or why you should use certain softwares online. So I think the whole agenda of this series is to enhance the literacy around the digital arena. And in this particular episode, I will be talking about the behavioral aspect of the cybersecurity. So as you know, friends, that the cybersecurity is become such an important issue. There are a lot of cybersecurity experts which are guiding organizations, small companies, and even large countries on how to protect your assets. So that is a totally different line of thought, totally different science. We will not be covering the entire cybersecurity aspect of using the World Wide Web. But in this series, in today's episode, we would look at the literacy part of it and how a common man can be more literate and be aware of what are the threats looming around him, and what are the behavioral aspects of the cybersecurity which affects everyone. So that the people who are watching this video gets more literate, more aware of things, and they start following certain good practices and not invite trouble to themselves. So as the cybersecurity subject concerns, there has been several attacks. In fact, the government of India has taken so many steps to prevent misuse of data of the citizens, either by the people within the country or even outside the country, and they have been giving a lot of advisories. In fact, some of you must be getting a lot of inputs from the telecom companies directly, saying that, hey, don't share your passwords, don't share your OTP account number. In fact, the banks have themselves started saying that no one will ask for your secret identity numbers. If somebody of bank employee calls you to verify certain things, they will not be asking any personal data, because the personal data is supposed to be entered directly into the banking system. Nobody will ask for this information verbally. So there is so much of awareness being spread. At the same time, the behavior of our behavior, will put us in the threat. So if you look at the cyber security and the behavioral aspect of the cybersecurity is what we will talk about. So it just in nutshell, if you want to look at the definition of the behavioral cybersecurity, it is the proactive approach to security in which all relevant activity
is monitored so that the deviation from the normal behavior can be identified. So to explain this in much simpler language, say for example, if you are using your mobile phone in certain way, but so that is a safe method because you are used to using your mobile phone or your PC or your systems at home in that particular fashion. But if in case there has been a difference in the behavior of your usage, that means for example you have set number of websites which you visit on daily basis, say about 20, but you want to visit something else or you want to use your PC in some other way, that should raise an alarm, and that should be a deviation from the usual behavior of your usage of these systems. So this is what something that is a behavioral aspect of cybersecurity is all about. And I'll tell you why it is important to track the behavior itself, because if you can track the behavior of your system, and if there is a system in your mobile device or your PC which is tracking your behavior, then anything out of the blue the system will be able to track and warn you. So if that step is taken without deploying too many expensive firewalls, antivirus solutions, or anything of the cyber security which cost money, if you just trap the behavioral aspect and out of the ordinary something happens on your systems, that should be a very good deterrent from you getting attacked. So just to take this discussion forward, I would like to say that if there are network behavioral detection, say for example if you are using your network, things like your Facebook or LinkedIn, in certain way you're used to using these things, but there is an anomaly detected by the system. Now what is the anomaly? Anomaly is that you actually spend 90% of your time visiting certain websites, and but certain things which are not usually visited by you is detected by the system. That is an anomaly. So usually if you are an iPhone user or an advanced Android user, you will have experienced these alerts coming to you saying that hey, there is something happening. Did you try to log in into this website? Did you try to log in using this system? Because normally you use some other system to log in into Facebook, but now we have detected that you're using some other system to log in. So things like that. Now there could be a chance where somebody has been able to hack into your Facebook account, but that person who's trying to hack into your Facebook account does not have your login ID or does not have your machine from which you log in. So that is a behavior aspect where the system is able to detect that you usually log in using your home PC, but now you're logging in from some other city and some other PC. So that is a change in behavior. That is why all these systems like Facebook has a built-in security on the behavioral aspect where they can detect how you're using Facebook, how you're using LinkedIn. So this is just one example. So there could be numerous examples of the behavioral aspect. So anything out of the ordinary should ring a bell and should be a cause of concern, and that is why these triggers are there in the network where anything out of the ordinary should be alerted to the user. Similarly, there could be a intrusion which can happen into your privacy. There could be an intrusion happening into your mobile device or your PC from external agency where they are trying to get access to your files on your desktop or on your mobile. Some of these files may be very personal to you. Some of these files may contain certain data which is related to your finances, etc., and you don't want these things to be made available to a third party. Otherwise, there is a very heavy chance or high chance where the data which has been stolen from your PC or your mobile device can be misused against you itself. So you have to protect all of these aspects. And if there is an intrusion, for example, a few days back, somebody was trying to log in into my mobile device from somewhere in China. And fortunately, I was able to detect this behavior because I'm in India, and somebody is trying to get access to my mobile device from China using some technology. We don't know what it is, but it is against the behavior because I have never traveled to China. So I think you have to be mindful about these things, and there are systems which are giving you these alerts. So you have to make sure that you don't ignore these alerts and you take appropriate action when such an intrusion happens. That means you should not allow. So the easiest thing to do is, if there is an intrusion which is being reported by your mobile device or your social media account, immediately change the passwords. That is the easiest thing to do, and that will make you more secure. So I think while there is a behavioral pattern checking, so that anything out of the blue is being checked, at the same time you can also keep changing your passwords as and when such intrusion happens, to secure, to protect yourself. At the same time, if there are occurrences happening often, then there has to be analysis on the pattern itself. You know, who's trying to steal your identity, who's trying to log in into the system, and how people are using your data or trying to get access to your data. So these are the things that you should be really concerned about, and you should do an analysis of how this pattern is emerging, and that will give you an input on how or who is trying to get access to your information. And then at the right time you can alert the authorities. The IT Act or IT legal laws in different countries are very, very strict, and anything, if you're able to detect the pattern and inform the authorities, the law will take its own course and will book the people who are trying to get into your mobile devices and steal your identity. So I think number two is understand what are the patterns which are happening on your devices, and people are trying to get access to your personal data. Now let's come to the advantage, because I think so far we have covered about what is cybersecurity, but we are not discussing too much in cybersecurity because it requires a lot of technical in-depth knowledge. We are talking about the behavioral aspects of the security, and in today's world, if you are using some sort of a system, then you're definitely putting a lot of information, your photographs, your whereabouts, location on the social media. And if those are the things which are being shared and somebody else get access to your location, your personal data, your photographs, your children information, the whole thing can be misused. So I think the first aspect is to understand what is behavior, how you are using responsibly the social media, what you are putting into social media. Is it very private or very public? It can be shared in public, or if it is very private, you should not be sharing it. So I think that is the first behavioral change that you have to make in yourself. Second is that you have to also understand, in case there is a out of the blue something is happening on your social media accounts and also on your device, you have to be very, very alert and attentive to prevent that. Number three, if there are pattern emerging of these attacks on you, then you have to understand who's trying to attack, and notice the pattern, and at the right time, once the occurrence are more than 5 to 6 times on the same pattern, you have to alert the authorities. Now let's come to the advantages. See, these are very simple steps. By changing the behavior of your own usage of different aspects of the digital life, you will be able to protect yourself without spending a lot of money in buying cyber security systems. I mean, if you buy the cyber security softwares, some of these things which you have to do manually can be automated, and you will be only seeing different kinds of alerts on your devices. But In case if your workload is not very heavy, you don't need to spend a lot of money in the cybersecurity softwares, and you don't have to. I mean, if you just simply change your behavior in terms of how you use your mobile phone, how you use your social media accounts, or how you use your laptops, what information you share by post or by SMS, what sort of information you share if somebody calls you, and WhatsApp or any messenger services. So if you have some sort of control on yourself in terms of your behavior, you will be able to secure yourself. And watch out, in the end I will say that make sure that keep checking your behavior, and anything out of the blue that happens on your account, on your device, you have to see and examine that occurrence. So with this, let me end my discussion today. And friends, if you want to comment on this, please do. I will take up your comments, and we will talk about some other aspects of digital literacy in the next episode. Until then, bye bye.
Hello friends, I am Kanchan from Akulmach Technologies and you are welcome to the show, The Great Kings of India. Today we have a very distinguished personality. Uh, Before I tell you about her name, let me tell you what she is and what she has been doing. She is a professor of ancient India history in Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. She has a great experience in teaching international students and thus creating a knowledge base for foreign students and thus giving awareness and information about our rich culture and tradition. She has been guiding scholars to do PhD. A part of this, she has tremendous amount of publication on ancient India tradition. So before, I don't want to waste any moment. I would like to introduce you all to the Professor Bindi Paranchpai. Welcome to the show, Bindi. How are you?
I'm just fine, and I'm excited about this idea that I'll be talking to you people and students or younger minds who are joined with you. And it's a great opportunity. Thank you very much. Today, we'll be introduced to one of the greatest rulers of ancient India. His name was Harshavardhan.
Oh,
I think this is so important that he actually increased the joy of his people, and his name was Harshavardhana, the one who increases the joy of people.
yes, we are ready to listen about this great king. And please tell us about this.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so let me tell you way back by about 1300 years or so. This ruler was ruling from Thaneshwar, Kanauj, that is today's Farrukhabad district of Uttar Pradesh, and he was one of the most revered, most liked king of ancient India. He ruled in first half of the 7th century AD. That's how I said that let me take you back to 1300 years of Indian history. We have lot of good sources to know about him. One, the famous book Harsha Charitam, written by Banabhatta. Banabhatta was his court poet, and an entire account of this king's early life, written in fabulous Sanskrit, that is available for our study. We are lucky because in ancient India, very few rulers we get information, such a contemporary information somebody who lived with that person and wrote about him. And another, which I think is more important, because a court poet obviously will write so many good things about a king, the one who patronizes him, the one who appreciates his literary acumen. But one foreigner who visited during the time of Harshavardhan, he was a Chinese pilgrim. We Indians pronounce him in different ways, Xuan Shuang or Yuan Shuang or Yuan Shuang. But generally, we know that around 7th century, this was the Chinese pilgrim who visited India. And today, when we Indians are a bit nervous about our relation with China, Indo-China relations are a little strained today, but certainly India stands for peace. And in this peace building process, India's contact with China way back in 7th century AD, and an emperor of ancient time welcoming a Buddhist scholar to his court, giving him lot of honor, and that pilgrim goes back to China and writes about China and writes about this king. And that's how a very strengthened relationship between India and China that gets built. Because after that, Harshavardhana sends envoys to China, Chinese send embassies to Harshavardhana's court, and this contact is made more or less permanent after that. So this is very important that we know about Harshavardhan. This Yuan son, when he came to India, his main intention was to learn Buddhism from the land of Buddha. Harshavardhana, to begin with, was not a Buddhist. He was a Shaivite. He followed Shaivism. But the beauty of the polity of this time in India is that may the ruler be follower of a particular faith, they used to be absolutely respectful and open to the other faiths. And that's how Harshavardhana was so happy to welcome a Chinese Buddhist pilgrim to his court. Now, this is something in the present disturbed times we can take as a wonderful inspiration coming from ancient India. It does not disturb a person having a particular faith, but respecting the other faith. So, Harshavardhana and Yuan Seng's close association is very important for us. What happened during that time? Harshavardhana convened a big, attended by thousands of people, many important rulers of the times, and many Buddhist and other scholars in his capital city, Kannauj. And Yuan Sung was given the position of the main lead acharya, the main lead teacher in this conference. Now that is so important. This was to build bridges between various faiths and come to terms of acceptance of each other's principles. And this is what very importantly both these great personalities did. Harshavardhana from the Indian side and Yuan Sung from the Chinese side. Another thing is that Harshavardhana also generously donated to the Buddhist establishment at Nalanda. This Nalanda, the ancient site, is near Bakhtiyarpur in Bihar, and few decades ago, archaeological excavation was done at that place, and we have found that yes, there was a huge establishment, and that is to the level of being called a university. Now that university was established before the times of Harshavardhana, but Harshavardhana made sure that the university sustains economically, having its own source of income. How did he do it? He donated revenues of 100 villages to this center of learning. Now, just try to understand that the times were not so peaceful always. There used to be wars, there used to be ambitions of various kings, and in such situations, these institutions could be suffering because the royal patronage or the patronage coming from the important personalities will be hampered during such war times. But suppose if the institution has got the source of income of its own, then these difficult times, the times when there are wars also, the university will not be disturbed. So this is one of the biggest contributions that you can see of this king to the learning.
Yeah.
And Yuan Sun.
Yes, I think he is also very literate, and I think he has written author of 3 Sanskrit books also, which later on.
Yes, of course. But yeah, I would certainly give a bit on that. But before that, Yuan Sun stayed in that university, University of Nalanda, and he has written his memoirs. So it is not just some Indians praising about their own king, but it is a foreigner, and that too a foreigner coming from China is writing about this king, his patronage to learning. Now coming to his own scholarship, this king Harshavardhan himself was a Sanskrit scholar, and there are some books credited to him, and we can see that how principles of polity and the king's benevolence, king being very supportive to his subjects as principle that he promotes through his writings. There are 3 dramas which are attributed to him. Those dramas in Sanskrit literature are taken as the best classics. So one is Nagananda, one is Ratnavali, and one is Priyadarshika. So in Nagananda, I think, which is very important for us to look, that king is trying to promote the principle of compassion, karuna, which is the highest principle in Buddhism, through his drama. The hero of the drama offers his own body, sacrifices himself to save a naga. Now, naga means a serpent. In the human hierarchy, we can say that it was a very lower being, right? It was just a creature. But a person tries to save that creature by sacrificing his own body. And that is the theme, that is the hero of Harshavardhana's drama. I think this is so much in tune with our ancient tradition of compassion, sacrifice, and trying to bring peace and trying to resolve the conflicts, because this hero's sacrifice, he sacrificed his body to the eagle, Garuda, because Garudas, the eagles, they eat the snakes. So for saving the snake, this hero Jibutavahana, he offered his body. So then the Garuda had a remorse. He thought that I ate something which was not my food. I was not supposed to eat this person. I was supposed to eat a snake. So then he promised Jibutavahana that henceforth I will not hunt these snakes. So the snakes' lives were survived. So what I mean to say is that that kind of a tension, that kind of a conflict that was resolved by compassion, by sacrifice. And this king, you can imagine a king writing such a drama, what kind of ideal he is presenting before his people. So I think for today we can stop here, and in future maybe we can talk more about Harshavardhana's some other achievements. But I think if our young minds start reading more about it and knowing firsthand what this king has done from his own works and from the works of Banabhatta and Yuan Sung, it would be great. And also, as I said, that during these difficult times, the tension times between India and China, and when India is standing for peace, these ancient traditions of peaceful interaction between India and China, I think all of us, we must remember and
Hi, this
respect.
is Viveka
Thank
Von
you very
Rosen
much.
with LinkedIn
Yes,
to
it is
Business.
so pleasure to
So the
talk to you,
process
and
of
I just want to
merging
add
personal
one
profile.
thing. Though he was by religion, Harshvardhan, but he has given lot of freedom to Buddhism and he is impressed by Buddhism. So we'll be discussing more about Harshvardhan in our coming series. For today, it is so wonderful to talk to you, madam. We'll be talking with you again on the same subject tomorrow. Till then, bye-bye. You take care.
Namaste. Thank you.
Hello friends, this is Chandrakant from Akulmach Technologies. Welcome to Top Brass. Let me also welcome my friend from UK, Mr. Naval Gunt. Naval, how's the morning in London today?
Good morning, CK. Good morning, everybody. The weather is on the rise. And the good news is the cricket season's here. Yes! So we're all very happy that we're back playing cricket and England are just about to whoop the West Indies. Hopefully, that's a bit maybe a bit presumptuous. There's a full day to go, and we know the English weather might get in the way, but you never know. We might just start the season off with a resounding victory. So, that could be a really good subject for today. What do you see? Where are you? What are you looking at?
Well, from your statements, I am concentrating on the word hopefully. So we shall see as the game progress. But what I'm up to, I would like to tell you. I've been reading about the elephant in the room, and
Oh, wow.
we have read this particular book or story or a puzzle right from very childhood. And at different phases in our life, we have been given this elephant in the room by teachers, by situation, by bosses to solve this problem. I don't think anybody in this world is perfect to solve this problem. So I think that is what I want to discuss with you about the elephant in the room with 4 guys blindfolded.
4 guys blindfolded and just an elephant. Wow. Are they at different parts of the elephant? Is one sitting on top of the elephant?
Well, if I remember this correctly from my school days, the teacher used to tell us, this is a puzzle. They will display an image of an elephant with 4 people with blindfold. And so teacher will say, can these people identify what parts they are holding? I think that is where the puzzle starts. And then it never ends because it's so complex.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And the interesting thing is that the thing that is it's an elephant. But the people that come into the room, because I remember playing this game before, the people that come into the room are all blindfolded. So they don't know what they're looking at. They're just given parts of the elephant to feel, to touch. And I remember one that had the tail, just had the tail. They're only allowed to hold the tail. So imagine now, close your eyes and imagine now feeling the tail of an elephant. What will it feel like? Now, the thing is, it's an elephant. But what if you didn't know it was an elephant and you were feeling it? What would you feel that tail? It could be the tail of a donkey. It could be the tail of a lion. If it was the tail of a lion and you thought you had a lion underneath your hand, you wouldn't touch that tail, would you? Let's face it. So, but what about the other end?
if you were given the trunk? Now, how do you know it's a trunk? What does that trunk feel like, do you think? What might it feel like?
Well, when it comes to tail, it may not even feel like a tail at all. It may feel like a rope. So
Yeah, rope could be. Could be, in which case you'd tug pretty quickly on the rope, wouldn't you? If you knew nothing else, and if you tug on an elephant's tail and you think it's a rope, don't be too surprised if you get a quick woof from the elephant. You know, so this is anticipation. But I say, let's go to the trunk. What does a trunk feel like?
it will probably feel like a water hose.
Could do. You wouldn't be far wrong there if the elephant had actually sucked up a lot of water and you get that in your face. But it could feel like a snake. Now that changes your mindset, doesn't it?
It will feel like a python, not a normal
Python, not a normal. So now you're thinking one stage further. And what does a python do?
It coils around you and crushes you.
It goes around you. So you'll run away from that. You know, you'll run away from the elephant. But what about the elephant's leg? What about its foot? What would that feel like?
It will feel like a pillar or a tree trunk or something like that.
Yeah, it could feel like a tree trunk. You might want to hug it and find out what it was like. Now, we're still talking about something we know about. We know it's an elephant. But remember, these people don't know what it is. They have no idea that they're touching an elephant. So what's a quick way we can find out what we're touching? Remember, these guys are blindfolded. What can we do?
Well, we can start giving them hints. I think that is
Yep.
similar to a game of dumb charades. So I think it's something like that we can do.
Yep. Or we can be really, really simple. We can say, why don't you take the blindfold off?
Well, that will end the question then.
Let's spoil the game. But the thing is, right, we started with this is the people, unfortunately, it's the elephant in the room. We're dealing with our own elephants and we're so blind to our elephants that we don't actually acknowledge them. So what we need to do is to deal with that elephant, because that elephant, if we keep feeding it, it will be a drag on our performance going forward. It will actually dampen our success. Because the thing about elephants is, once you feed them, guess what? They get bigger. And this is a metaphor. So feeding that elephant in the room is the elephant eventually gets so big in the room that you have to maneuver around it. But you're quite happy to maneuver around it because you've done it all your life. But if you're really going to deal with the elephant in the room, and these are probably your behaviors, what's stopping you? You need to identify one behavior that really does stop you. Open your eyes, take the blindfold off, and start to deal with one of those big issues that's stopping you progressing. I was speaking to a guy the other day, and he's a really good salesperson. He runs a team of salespeople. Due to the coronavirus, the company has downsized a bit. The sales manager left, and he's been promoted to that sales manager position. And within a week, he's now not confident. He's not resilient. He feels at risk. He doesn't enjoy what he's doing. And the list goes on and on. And the reason is that his company have created the elephant in the room. They've got a fantastic salesperson meeting all outstanding, all records, all expectations, outperforming the rest of the team. And now he's been promoted. He's been given a promotion into the sales manager role. But they've made a big mistake because they've created the elephant in the room. So we can easily do this sort of stuff, you know. He's a great salesperson because He's very determined. He's very confident. He knows his subject. He cultivates relationships with his customers, his clients. He shares with the team, and that's why he's been given the manager's slot, but he's not a manager. So just think about today, those things that you actually physically create to block your success. So just if you're in that promotion arena, if you're going to promote someone, ask them if they want the promotion. It's such a simple question, isn't it? No, we just assume people want promotion.
Well, let me say a few words on this one. Neville. I think because I've dealt with this situation just like you several times. I think there are two kinds of professionals, and obviously there is an elephant in the room. And people themselves don't know what type they are. There is one type which is a maverick. They'll go get things done, like the sales manager you're talking about. The other type is a people manager. They don't know anything about delivery, but they manage people very well. So if I have to go back in history, during Second World War, Montgomery was a better general. So he was a go-getter. But Eisenhower was a people manager. He was a politician. So he was chosen as a combined chief of army for the Allied forces. So I think that is a difference. And if you open this up to people, everybody wants to get the Eisenhower position. If you ask Montgomery, he will be also pissed off. Hey, I didn't they didn't promote me to lead the Allied invasion. They brought somebody from US. So I think that is where the problem is. People themselves don't know their strength, and obviously there is elephant in the room. There is a lot of ignorance.
Yeah, it's funny. We haven't spoken about this before, but I will sometimes use that as a good example. And if you take the first parts of their surname, so Eisen and Monty, okay, and you call it Eyes on Monty, you got to have your eyes on Monty. You got to have your eyes on Monty, but you're a people manager, so constantly have your eyes on. I'm glad you're laughing. It doesn't necessarily translate everywhere, but it is just a simple example of, we need both people, really. We need people that can manage people, get the best out of people, but we also need people that can deliver. So if you've got a manager that also delivers, whatever you do, recognize it and don't let them go. Make them feel part of the team. Give them opportunity to grow, because they will grow your team. It's pretty simple stuff when you think about it, but it's not actually that common. So just from the elephant in the room, we go to this Eyes on Monty. Amazing, isn't it?
Well, it is amazing. Probably Eisenhower realized that this is going to happen. So he changed his nickname to Ike.
Yeah, unfortunately, I know that too, and that you can't do anything with Ike.
But Neville, coming from India, where designation is everything, people think that that you have to become a manager, then you have to become a senior manager, then you have to become a vice president, then president, and if you're not one of them, you have not done anything in life. But I don't think that is true, and that is why there is elephant in the room. In my career, when I used to work for multinational companies, I've seen people, their designations were only architect. An architect in India is like a very small guy. He has no value in the company. He is just nobody. He has been given a job. He will design things, and that's it. End of story. You keep sitting there, be quiet, don't talk. But I have come across architects who own the private planes, who own their own lake, and they have their lakeside villa, and they travel to San Francisco every day on their plane, and there is a car waiting. So they have a parking place for the plane. They fly from their lake house, the land in SFO Seafront, Pier 39, they have a sports car waiting, they go to the office and their designation is only architect. And they're having a ball of a time, they're enjoying themselves. So I think that is very important. You have to understand what you do, what you're good at, and not really keep running about something which is not your strength.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I often pull people's leg about designation. You see it a lot on the speaker circuit where someone's introduced as they've got a BSc, they've got an MPhil, they're a doctorate of this, a doctorate of that, they've got an MBA in this, they're on this board, that board, and every other board. And by the time people have been introduced, everyone's going, "What time is it?" What we know why the person's here. The bio could have been sent previously. If the person's going to be a speaker, the likelihood is they're on LinkedIn. All the preparation that other people should be doing, and about creating excitement for yourself. This is the person I'm going to see. This is why I want to see it. It's all being done for us. And the thing about that is it's creating a huge elephant in the room. It's creating our laziness. We're passing on laziness. We're stopping people thinking. It's just my opinion, frankly. But when you start to think of it that way, yeah, why should you be introduced other than, CK, president of Akulmach? That should do. I remember when I left corporate life, I was told, Neville, you need to get a business card. And I thought, well, why do I need a business card? I'm not going to be doing any business, I'm going to retire, So anyway, I succumbed to it because I was volunteered for almost everything. For my wife wanted to get me out of the house mostly. So I got a business card and it just said Neville Gaunt. That was it. It's my name, Neville Gaunt, and it just had my mobile number, and that's all it had on the business card. And the interesting thing is that caused more upheaval in the people that I was giving that business card to than I ever thought was possible. Because typically, if you go to a networking arena, people will pass their business card as you go and talk to them. Someone might introduce you to them, and the first thing they do is they go into their top hand pocket. It's almost like it's the business person's performance. Can you get your business card out quick enough? Beat the other one. It's like a quick draw. Are you ready, CK? Ready? 1, 2, 3, draw. There's the business card. And it happens all the time. And this is typically in the UK type of environment. Of course, if you go to the Far East and the Middle East, actually, you present your business card. It's almost like a two-handed presentation. This is me. This is who I am. I would be very grateful if you were to accept my card. It's a whole different language. We could go on this forever, but it caused, just by having my name and my mobile, no web address, no email, no nothing. Someone said, so who are you? And it said, well, it says on the card, it says Neville Gaunt, I was there just to have fun. I wasn't there to generate business. I was there to have fun and, help people along. But it really did throw people, because their elephant in the room was a business card should say this, and that then gives me an opportunity to have a conversation. Well, my business card didn't say anything, but it stopped them having the conversation. So this automatic process, there was an elephant that all of a sudden got in the middle of the room, completely threw them, almost like, you're going round the moon and you're going to slingshot to Saturn, that's more or less how it got them. And you can have a lot of fun doing that, by the way. So anyone listening out there that's got this far today, you could have a little bit of fun. Print a business card that just says your name on it and see what happens. See how far you can get with the conversation.
Well, Neville, I have come across this situation in real life, and it is very, very intimidating. It's really, really, you think, who's this guy, all that. So there's an organization here, which is a very large organization in India. They have a tradition not to mention any designation on the card. So if you bring a card, you will only see the name there, and you don't know who's the head of what and who's head of finance, and so you don't know, exactly. And the other thing these guys have done is they have always maintained that you will not have one role in the company. So if you're a CIO of a group, you will be CEO for one other group. So it's like a completely meshed up organization, and it works beautifully. They are like huge organization. I think the turnover is, they are in the top 16 or 20 worldwide. But you don't know who's doing what. A man without a designation. That's how they are.
It's brilliant because in this day and age, it actually forces things that we talk about in the value statement. It forces respect because you don't know who this person is, and all it says is their name. You need to go on a scouting expedition. You need to explore. And when you're in exploring mode, you will ask questions. Because otherwise you're never going to know who this person is,
And the funny thing is that each person has a dual responsibility. So you don't know who's calling the shots because he's
Exactly. It used to be, I think, there used to be something in the army, and I think it was developed during the Korean War, where because the Korean War was one of these almost like guerrilla wars, where you didn't know if there was a sniper in the hills or the trees, so you would never salute when you're outside the camp. And even then, you wouldn't salute necessarily inside the camp because snipers, they don't care. These camps are not fortified. We're not talking about the Middle Ages here with huge castles. These were just camps with perimeters, and they wouldn't salute. And I suppose that, in some respects, says, well, I'm not going to give anyone else a clue here. I'm not going to salute, the people in charge, but we know who the people in charge are. And it does generate, from those that are not in the know, it does generate a very different behavior pattern right from the outset. It actually sets the tone for the organization. I mean, you can imagine walking into that organization on day one, can't you? And they're having a networking introduction. There could be 100 people that are absolutely new, and the chief exec's there, the CFO's there, the CIO, the CHRO, they're all there, okay? But you have no idea who they are. They could be handing a cup of coffee to you, because I've seen that happen as well, because these people are real. They're integrated into the organization. I haven't seen it more than once. I know the Indian company you're specifically talking about, and they've done this for a number of years. It works really successfully. Having a second job, when you're a large organization like that, it's easy. You can be the CIO and you can be on the board of a subsidiary doing a completely different role. What that does is it gives you a really broad opinion of what's happening in the business. It's the best form of development that you can have. You have to be fairly large to be able to do it. But here's an example. If you're the chief exec of a small company, why don't you go and be a non-exec director of another company? Even if you do it for nothing, go and offer your advice, for 2 hours a month for an affiliated company. Could even be one of your suppliers. That's not novel, but it's not done very often. So I suppose it is novel.
Well, Neville, this is a very large subject, and there is obviously elephant, a big one in everybody's mind. It's there, but I think there is one more subject. I think we will talk some other day. Is about a monkey with a banana in a room. So I think you have to lead it to that point.
You sure it's not an elephant with a banana? No, we'll leave that for another day. Always a pleasure chatting with you, CK. Good luck, everybody. It's only Tuesday.
And you have a good day, Neville. We will catch up tomorrow in Sauti Wednesday.
Sotty Wednesday. My goodness, it comes around again. Have a nice day, CK. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
Hello, friends. This is Chandrakant, and I welcome you all to Naval Gun Live. Let me also invite my friend from UK, Mr. Naval Gun.
Good morning, CK. Good morning, everybody. We've got an interesting subject for you today. We're going to be short on this subject, but it's about grandparents. You know, aging population. The UK's got it, India's got it, all the world's got it. And we're talking about the well-being of these people, the mental issues that lots of old people are suffering around the world today. And we've got a few solutions that you could try. And it doesn't cost you any money to try it either. You know, we're not going to sell you an online program. We're not going to say, download this and buy this from Amazon. We're going to just give you some simple examples that actually will increase the well-being, not just of elderly people, but also of all age groups. How's that? What do you reckon to that, CK?
Well, I think it's a very important subject, and with COVID and lockdown situation, some of these issues are aggravated within the family. And I must tell you about India. In India, we are mostly living about 60 to 70% household are joint families, which is the grandparents and grandchildren are staying with the current generation. So, the parents live all their life with their kids and grandchildren in one household. That is the norm here. Whether you are Christians or a Muslim or a Hindu, everyone lives in the same manner. That is a tradition. And I know for sure that, as people age, sometimes they get very sort of hardliner, and those issues are normally considered as part of normal aging and sort of ignored. And I'm sure, these are all issues which can be corrected by a simple visit to psychiatrist. But usually it is considered a taboo in India. People don't want to take help from others. So they tend to do their own things. They have their own social circles and things like that. That kind of life controls all these phenomena. But with COVID now in picture for last almost a year, everybody's stuck at home. Their social life is disrupted. The children school is disrupted. Our generation also, because we are just talking on the Zoom platform like this one, and the elderlies don't know how to use all these very effectively, and they don't have their friend circle. They are not able to go to parks and talk to their friends and discuss few things. So they are also losing out sort of an outlet. And I'm sure it's a big problem, especially the mental health of elderly. Probably you can tell us few ideas how we can cope up with these issues.
Well, it is a huge problem. And as you say, COVID, I mean, it's good that you've got a family integrated unit, because I think that helps with all sorts of, effectively, you've got babysitters on tap, as we would call it in the UK. And some families keep local so that they've got that babysitting opportunity. I mean, grandparents or your parents have got more uses than babysitters, but when your children are very young, parents need a break too. So when the parents would like to go out, even for a walk, and they don't want to take the children with them, then grandparents actually sit in and become the babysitter. So this is nothing new. It's not rocket science. It's been done for years and years and years and years. So let's just take a leaf out of our ancestors. You know, what did they do? Well, COVID has cooped us all up in the same environment. So, in the first instance, I think what we need to be looking at is creating our own space, having times of day where you've got your own space and you do your own thing. So, and that's the children typically are going to be online. They're going to be doing their schooling. So the grandparents actually, rather than helping them with the schooling, perhaps leave that to the parents, and the grandparents, that's their downtime. You know, they can sit in front of the TV, they can snooze, they can read a book, do the crossword, and just, you know, chat amongst themselves, you know, have that adult time. So I think this is important to recognize. We need to be a little bit disciplined about what we do, especially when we're cooped up together and there's no outlet. We need to create those outlets. The second thing is, I remember as a kid playing cards with my mum. And we would, after dinner, or as we called it, tea, after about 5 o'clock, we'd all do the washing up and then we'd sit round the table. And we've already done our homework because we've been home from school. We'd sit round the table, we'd play cards. I remember playing a game called Newmarket, which had 4 cards on the table and you just literally played cards. And it was great fun. We cheated like everybody else. We laughed like everybody else. My mum laughed. And when, on an odd occasion, one of my grandparents was staying with us because they lived like 400 miles away, then my nan would laugh too. And she'd be one of the best at cheating. Okay. She'd be teaching us cheats we'd never even thought of. And it's fine because cheating's part of the game. You know, it's having a little bit of fun. There's nothing wrong with it. That worked for us. It could work for you. And I know, CK, it actually works for you because you started to play cards with the kids and your parents. So just lead people through what happens when you play cards.
Yes, in fact, we had this issue where we were not able to find time to communicate with each other because to handle these issues, I think communication is the key. Where if you are able to provide that platform for everyone to, talk and discuss, then they will not have these issues, the solitary issue, even though they are living in one family unit. So we thought that after dinner we will play cards, and that will give us a family bonding time every night, every day after dinner. So we started it. It is actually very interesting. Everybody is laughing on the table. Every hand that we play, there is kids are very smartest of the cheats on the table. They learn very fast. So those kind of things are happening. Every hand we are laughing as a family.
And we do know that laughter, is a good mental health medicine. It's the cheapest medicine out. And the nice thing is when everyone joins in, you can't stop the laughter. And I bet there are occasions in your family where you laugh for absolutely no reason whatsoever, and everyone laughs. And then, but you never say what were we laughing about. You just get on with it, and you enjoy the next laugh. You are your own set of comedians, really. And anyone can do this. It doesn't cost anything to do. And you could do it. You don't have to play cards. You could do a crossword. You could create a crossword. So here's some opportunity to get the kids to be creative, get them to make the crossword, and challenge the grandparents, to finish it. It will take the children longer to do the crossword than it will do the adults to finish it, hopefully, as long as the dictionary's been used and they've used proper words. But again, you can have fun with that. Scrabble is an absolutely brilliant game. And again, what the children are learning, they're learning new words. They're learning to be team players. They're learning to be engaging. They're learning to listen, to have fun. And those are some characteristics that we sadly lack, actually, in the workplace. So there's so many things you could get a hold of. And there's another one is where a lot of old people do miss their old friends. They can't go to the coffee shop, and meet, their friends on a regular basis. But the likelihood is that their friends do have access to the internet. They do have a workstation. They do have a tablet. They might even have an iPhone. The likelihood is they will have a smartphone. I can tell you now that there's some TV programs that have been run in the UK over the last 5 or 6 years, where young kids go into care homes and they're teaching very old people how to use Skype, FaceTime, Zoom, all the technology. And they get hold of it and they go, well, you just do this, this, and this. This is how I talk to my dad. You can talk to your friend. And the kids are so demonstrative and simple and patient as well, because an old person might think, oh, well, I don't really want to do that. I'm scared. I'm not too sure about this technology. And the kids will say, well, look, this is all you do. Bish, bash, bosh, and off you go. And the nice thing is that if those grandparents have got other grandparents' friends at a distance, they're going to be grandparents of other kids. So all of a sudden, the other kids can be involved too, and they can have a little bit of fun. I don't know if you, CK, have ever tried to play Scrabble, with your kids play Scrabble with their friends, in other houses. I mean, even next door. I mean, you can do this from room to room, actually, if you've got enough tablets, and it's hilarious. It's even more fun because you hear the next door laughing their head off, and you think, well, what are they laughing at? And you suddenly realize you spelt it wrong, and then you start to laugh as well. Another game is battleships. I don't know if I used to play battleships a lot when I was a kid. You can play battleships from a distance. There are so many games that you can play and have some fun from a distance, but bring yourself together. So I hope these are just a few ideas today to help people along, because mental health of everybody, not just elderly people, but of everybody, is absolutely critical, not just in this COVID time, but all times. We all need to know we can pick up the phone to a friend, because we never know when we're going to need them.
Well, nowadays there are a lot of games on Facebook, especially the battle game is fantastic. I don't know whether you got to see the latest version of the battle game.
No, I didn't even know it was on Facebook. But I would play battleships on a piece of paper. I'd draw a grid, and
Right.
we put 1 square for a submarine, 2 for a destroyer, 3 for a battleship, and 4 for an aircraft carrier. I can even remember it now. So it's harmless fun. Nobody gets injured. All you're doing is picking a square. It's incredibly funny.
Right. So now it has gone beyond from squares, and you can pick Yamato, you can pick Mississippi, you can take Prince of Wales, and
the digital age, CK. I must go online and have a look at it.
Right, and you can check their statistics. How fast they go, what is the thickness of their aft.
Oh, blimey, that's a bit too much information.
and the Scrabble is also online. Thousands of people will be playing at any time. But I think above all, if I take my parents, we have this speaker remote, and they are very comfortable pressing the numbers. And those are the things which are not available now. So they feel very uncomfortable talking about the channel, what program they want to see, because now you have to speak in the remote instead of pressing that number. So I think, but you mentioned correctly, the kids are very smart, and they are the people who are teaching them how to do things. It's not we. The kids are teaching them how to press, how to go to this website, how to download this music, how to do things. So they're very cohesive team. And above all, the communication is the key here, because if you leave them alone, there could be some unfortunate people where the communication can become an issue, and that will lead to serious problems. So I think the people who are looking after the elderlies in their homes, they should communicate with these people to make sure that the mental health is taken care. Some of these issues can be handled very easily by simple communication.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, hopefully we've given people a few insights today as what they can do. There is always a downside. There always is, there are always people that are preying on young people, and they prey on old people too. The number of people that, release funds because they think someone's being honest with them on the phone. But we only learn through communication. And as I say, the best way actually is to engage grandparents and grandchildren, but give a bit of space. In these COVID times, everyone's cooped up in the same place. Give yourself a little bit of space. Have a little bit of discipline, because that's what you need. Because if it's 24/7, that is mental anguish. Not every grandparent can handle their grandchildren 24/7. I'm looking forward to being a grandparent, but I'm also looking forward to giving them back because I do know that I will be definitely needing my space. And that's not being nasty, it's just being realistic. At the end of the day, we need to recognize and be respectful that we all need a little bit of our own space. But it's a fascinating subject. We can do so much for mental health without going to see a psychiatrist, without going to see a doctor. Those are in serious cases, yes, you should go there. It's a bit like if you break your leg, don't strap it together and think it's going to be okay. You need to go to the hospital to get your leg fixed. But there's a lot of mental health, a little bit of anxiousness, a little bit of being overwhelmed, getting angry from antsy from time to time. These are things that we can deal with on an ongoing basis. And grandchildren love their grandparents. And I'm sure it's the same the other way around. So we can do an awful lot for the mental health of the country.
I think some of the ideas that you mentioned are very relevant, very important, especially in the COVID era. And I'm sure viewers who are watching this will follow some of these guidelines. So thank you very much, Naval, for finding time and discussing this very important subject, which is affecting the world. We will catch up again on something interesting again in Naval Guns Live very soon.
We will do. Have fun, CK. Have fun, everybody. Good mental health.
Thank you, Naval. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good morning, Neville.
Good morning, CK. How are you?
Yeah, we are enjoying the first day of total lockdown in India, but I'm at work. As you
Good. Pleased to hear it, even though casual.
of course, because we are working from home.
Now there you go. Because lockdown does mean working from home. And guess what? I'm in my study, so I'm working from home too. And that's the whole point. Okay, so let's get people into the right frame of mind to continue to work, because an SME owner, an entrepreneur, needs to keep their business running. And what that means is, although we're in this physical distancing, this isn't social distancing, because you and I are being very social, but we're physically distanced away. And a lot of listeners and watchers on here are going to be physically distanced from their business and physically distanced from the people that they work with in their business. But that doesn't mean you keep the distance. You must have a routine and get on with it. So today, day one, is all about creating that routine. The good news is you and I woke up as normal. We got ready for work as normal. and we're in work as normal. But how many of the listeners have actually done that today? How many are physically in their little office at home with the kids running around, and maybe your parents live with you as well, shouting and screaming and the dog barking? How many of you have physically got yourself in that mindset to work? You have.
Well, as far as I can see from my window, there are people who think it's a holiday, and there are few guys who are panicking. They're trying to get or basically flock around the provision stores. So all kind of people, there are. I think it will take 1 or 2 days for this feeling to sink in, and then people start realizing they have to work, and hence they will come back to their small home offices like you and me, start working.
Well, the point is, get ahead of the game. This isn't a holiday. This isn't, we haven't suddenly jetted off to sunnier climes. And the other thing is, in India, it's the first of 21 days. This is 3 weeks. And the point is, let's make it the best 3 weeks for your business ever. And the best thing we can say is get into a routine immediately. If you wake up in the morning and you get dressed and you do, your physical things, have a shower, get yourself clean, etc., do it. Do it every single day. Don't say, oh, I'm going to have a lie-in this morning. Don't even start, The government have given you the time off. You haven't given yourself the time off. The weekend's coming. That's time off. But today's Wednesday. So let's use this as a driving opportunity to get your business in the shape that other people are not going to be, because they're going to take it as a holiday. So let's be smart. Get yourself ready for work. Create the routine that you normally do. And the only thing from that routine that you're not going to do is physically open that front door and get in the car and go to work. But go through the motions, mentally go through those motions. And the most important thing is here, now take the opportunity to create a workspace at home that's just yours.
The problem,
away from everybody else.
Neville, the problem is we are all so much used to getting stuck for 1 hour or 1.5 hours in traffic. So I recommend get a car game downloaded on your PC, and if you're bored of sitting in office, start driving a car.
There you go. So we can do lots of things and make it fun. But the thing is, we need to create that routine. I can't stress it enough. This isn't a prescription. We shouldn't be thinking other people are going to give me loads and loads and loads of advice. The simple advice is do what you did yesterday. The only difference is you're not physically going out the front door.
Right.
But now what you need to do is create that workspace at home. It may be in the end of the garden. And the thing is, lots of people are going to be outside now in their gardens, in their backyards, because it's a holiday. But it's not a holiday for you. Take this opportunity, take yourself away to a quiet place in your house somewhere, and physically make that space yours. Create it as a workspace. And the other thing is, your colleagues, your business associates are now all at home. Don't lose contact. That doesn't mean to say you're on the telephone all day. You don't need to do that. You can be there socially engaging with them on Twitter, on Facebook, through your own website, on email, on LinkedIn. You can create all of this stuff that you've put off. Now's the opportunity to do it. And it's as simple as that. And I think what we need to do is that's a bite-sized chunk. Create a routine, find a space in your home space now that you can call yours for 2 or 3 hours a day and get on with it, because life will not stop. And the businesses that will succeed are the ones that create that routine today. Day one. So I'll see you on day 2.
Right. So let's start with our work, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow.
Fantastic. Good luck, everybody. Thanks, CK. See you tomorrow.
Have a nice day, Neville. Bye bye.
And you.
Hello, friends. This is Chandrakant from Akulmach Technologies, and today we would like to discuss about the kind of hardware, the kind of PC that is required nowadays, especially when everyone is getting into video conferencing. So, discuss further on this subject. Let me invite my friend from UK, Mr. Naval Goon.
Good morning, CK. Good morning, everybody. This is really an important subject for everybody to pick hold of today because COVID's still here. We're here for the long term, as everyone is now realizing. So if you haven't prepared already, now's the time to prepare. And it's so easy, as we're going to explain to you today.
Absolutely. In fact, before we start discussing, I think the biggest confusion is that people start using their laptops and then they start doing all sorts of things. And, sometimes it fails, sometimes things doesn't work, slow connection, etc. So to avoid all that, our recommendation would be to set up a video facility all by itself so that you don't interfere with your laptop and you set up a video setup which is useful for your video editing, for your conferencing. And if you're a gamer, you can do that, or simply streaming. So when we talk about the video arena, there are couple of things that comes to our mind, and that is the four primary activities that we indulge in. Either you are streaming or you're gaming, and you're also doing video editing. That means when you're actually creating a video, there are multiple elements that you're bringing in and stitching them together. And for doing this video editing, many times people use different sorts of very very expensive applications like Adobe or OBS or something like that. There are different tools which are available for getting the videos prepared. It will have a sound element, etc. So for that, there is a separate hardware requirement. And then there is a normal conferencing, which is the easiest thing to do in today's world. All you need is a Zoom connection or a Google Meet connection, and bingo, you're there. So these are the four criterias, and we thought we will discuss one by one. Any opinion you have, Naval? Something that I missed out?
No, I don't think so, TK. I mean, the thing is, you hit the nail on the head. What you need to do as an individual is decide where you sit. So if you're sitting in video conferencing, as we are today, it is literally plug and click. Everyone's done the work for you. You get a nice little dashboard, and off you go. And even if you can go into Zoom, you can create a free account, and you can even have a conversation with yourself without inviting anybody in. So you can go and play. And I think that's I'm not talking about gaming here, which is the one above it. You can go and play, go and enjoy yourself, go and feel comfortable with the video conferencing arena, because it is part of our life. And we need to accept that because it's part of our life, we need to be able to be comfortable with it. It's a bit like sitting in your own sofa or on your own private chair at home, and you've got your laptop in front of you, or as these people have got, they've got screens on the wall. I mean, these days I do an awful lot of video conferencing through the TV because it's got an internet connection. So just experiment. And I think this is the point. As we move further into these, we just need to go and experiment, have a bit of fun. Don't worry about it too much. Just become comfortable with it.
Absolutely. And all of these different aspects of video brings different type of requirement for your hardware. Say, for example, if you're doing gaming, then you really need a really, really powerful device with a lot of memory and bandwidth and multiple screens and there are very serious gamers. So if you're thinking of becoming a gamer, then the hardware requirement will be of one type. And then if you're doing a lot of video editing, then you need a different sort of hardware, and streaming and so on. The whole point is how much funding you have for this project, for this build, is where the whole question lies. So we will discuss one by one what is available in the market, and then in the end we will also summarize all of it as a medium base PC which may be required. So the heart of the any PC or any system is the CPU, which is really the heart. And this is a main component, and it is the most expensive component that you will have on your video platform. Currently, there are two brands which are very popular. One is Intel, obviously, everybody knows about it, and then other is AMD, which some people know. And AMD is also coming up very fast, especially with regard to video arena. So Intel has been around since our childhood, since at least for me, I can talk about, not for Neville, but Intel was there even before I was born. In today's context, there are multiple types of Intel chips available, like Celeron, 3i, 5i, 7i, and now recently 9i. And all of these, especially the 5i onwards, are also called 10th generation Intel chips. So to explain a little further, if you're looking at a video platform, I think the first thing you should do is ignore Celeron and 3i straight away, because these are the chips which will not work for you if you're thinking of either video conferencing using Zoom or some platform like that, because these chips are not designed to handle the heavy graphics which are involved in any video activity. But based on a budget, you can choose anything from 5i to 9i. 9i is really the most expensive chip. In fact, 9i can be 60% of the cost of your entire build. So if you have that kind of money, you can invest in 9i. And if you're a very serious gamer, you will have 5 monitors to see different activities running on your different game console. You can go in for 9i. But if you're a normal user, you can even choose a 5i 10th generation. And this would be sufficient for your normal activities. But if you're doing movie grade uh, video editing, then you would need 7i. So I would say anything depending on a budget, 5i or 7i, you can choose if you're choosing the Intel stream of CPUs. Your opinion, Neville?
I think you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, if you're serious about this, then you really need to start at the 5i and the 7i level. And we haven't spoken about cost, but there's a significant difference between the Celeron and the 3i, and then the next level, the 10th generation 5i, 7i. So the main thing is to do a little bit of research about what you want to get out of your system, where you want to, how you want to enjoy it. Because the last thing you want to do is build all your hopes and expectations